Hi everyone, here we are for another week of me thinking about books I like. I can't think of anything better to do, but hey, how you liking the coronavirus here? It's not good, is it? I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're staying safe, and I hope you're reading a lot. Whether the kids end up going back on time to school this year, the one thing you can do for your kids, for their overall growth, is read to them. I mean, read things they want to know about. I just was speaking online with a friend who said that she has two little boys, and they like dinosaurs. Well, no kidding, they all do, don't they? I love it. And that's great. Read dinosaur books. I mean, read them anything. I mean, here's a book that I just have to show you because it just cracks me up. Well, I'll show it to you in a minute because I have to fool with the doc cam to do that, and that's not an easy thing for me yet. But the title is Gross as a Snot Otter. I mean, you got them sold right there, don't you? So, there you go. But I'll show it to you in a minute. It's so good. I do want to start with a book that I really like. I have long been a supporter of all kinds of multicultural books for kids. That's what they need. And to see that the world exists outside of their small world. I think we all need that. I'm a big traveler, and I think one of the big things I like about traveling is meeting these people from all around the world and how really wonderful they are. And they've all got the same problems we do, you know. We're having a little bit more right at the moment, but I really think it's important for them, kids always, to hear stories of other children. Now, don't get whiplash. I'm going to try to move this document over here. Okay. Getting closer. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. It's beautiful. I really do love it. It is called I Walk with Vanessa. And it's a story about a simple act of kindness. And when we're talking about not just being, you don't want to be racist, for heaven's sakes, who would, but that idea of being anti-racist, not just saying, I don't believe in racism. It's standing up to it. And this is a lovely, but a small book. I don't mean by dimensions. It's by Kara Scote, I believe is how you pronounce it. And it's done by Schwartz and Wade, who I adore as publishers. And lovely end papers with watercolor dots in grays and whites and darker colors, which is interesting. I do like the art. And here are all the kiddos in school. They're not social distancing, but for this purpose, you're getting the point. And what you see here on the very beginning page is a nude kid in school, which is always hard, isn't it? Because you just have to start from the bottom. And you can see she's the only one who doesn't have books and engaged. She's just sitting there. And when they play basketball in the gym, she's sitting over there. Maybe it's not a game she knows, shy, who knows what it is. But here she is. And when the kids let out of school, as they do, just higgledy-piggledy, Vanessa is on her own. And sometimes kids just they don't do it out of meanness, like it's perhaps some do, but they just don't know in some cases. In this case, Vanessa is about to cross the crosswalk, and the bully kid, you can tell by the evil eye there. I should get it lower so you can see it a bit better. It's wordless here, so we don't know what's happening, but obviously he gives her a bad time because her eyes are open wide, and he's yelling at her, and now the artist has added this splash of color, and red, of course, being a color that is used to show passion, and you can tell he's giving it to her, you know. So he walks away. He's done his job. He's made her kowtow to him. But this little girl notices this. She watches the bully leave her, and how upset the little girl is as she's leaving. Because I love showing pictures, but sometimes it can be a little difficult for me, not being a tech guru of any sort. Anyway, you may not be able to see it there, but the little girl's got tears. And this bothers our little girl over here. She went from having a great day to suddenly not such a great day. And this is really a moment of empathy, which is what I really like about books like this. If kids don't have empathy, don't understand that, it's very important that we kind of move them along that path, because it's when you can feel a bit what other people are feeling, it makes everything so much better for everyone. So our protagonist watches the little girl go home, and she's thinking. I know, you see what wordless books can do? It really makes the kids pore over the illustrations. Well, our protagonist goes back to her three chums, and you can tell she's pointing towards Vanessa's house, and you want to all come over, I expect they're saying. And they all go their own way, you know. Even our protagonist, she goes home, but it doesn't roll off her back. She's thinking about it. She's thinking it as she goes to bed, looking out the window, and knowing that Vanessa is basically across the street, just sad and lonely, you know, as one is when that happens. When she wakes up, she has an idea at the breakfast table. Rushes out to school. Knocks on Vanessa's door, and out peeks Vanessa, and they start chatting, and our two little girls start off holding hands, walking to school together. Our protagonist's chum joins up, and you know, there is sort of this understanding with kids. It's like, well, if you think she belongs in our club, you know, then she's good. It's good by me. It's this tacit understanding, and that's exactly what happens here. Next, the three of them are going, and these other kids join in. It can take a simple thing, you know. And before you know it, my gosh, Vanessa's like the middle, right smack in the middle of everything. I mean, look at all these kids. Vanessa no longer stands out. I have to hunt for her there. She is part of the group. And so our two main characters then are walking in, and I don't even see the bully. I'm sure he's there somewhere, but I wouldn't waste my time trying to find him. Oh, he may be this guy. I don't know if you can see this. It just struck me. I bet you it's this guy. He's got a red face. He's not feeling so good about how things are turning out. And if I flip back, which I kind of like to do just to see if my theory works. Yeah, he had a blonde, hair parted down the middle. That's him, yeah. So he's not happy about having, but no one else has got any problem at all. And now we see Vanessa in school with everything she needs on her desk, smiling at the kids around her. And this is awesome. And it says here for children how you can help someone who's being bullied. For adults, some helpful words to use when talking about this book with children. And it's awesome. I really love this book. And now, the really young papers back here, Schwartz and Wade, these publishers are great. Really drab, white, gray, black. Now we've got this just rainbow of possibilities here. I think this is just an extraordinary book, and it's called I Walk with Vanessa, a story about a simple act of kindness by Kara Skowit. I'll have to look up how to say that word properly. This is the book I mentioned just a little bit earlier. I couldn't find the book the other day when I was talking to my granddaughters, but I said, I have this really great book I think you're going to like. And I know I'm right, because every kid, well, not every kid, but most kids love gross stuff. And this is The World of Weird Animals by Jess Keating. This is Gross as a Snot Otter, Discovering the World's Most Disgusting Animals. Well, you can't get better than that. You think the kids are gonna... We start off really with maggots, which are really... I didn't even want to just, I just didn't want to go there with my girls. This is a hagfish. A Spanish rib nude. I don't think he's so gross. Gross as a herring. Gross as a sea cucumber, So think about this, and what the science is. The science of ew. Have you ever wondered why certain things make us feel disgusted? The answer might not be as simple as you think. As humans evolved, the feeling of disgust helped us stay safe. It was a warning sign telling us to stay away from stinky, rotting food or contagious diseases. Disgust alerts us to things that could make us sick or even kill us, and that has helped ensure our survival as a species. That makes a great deal of sense, Anyway, this is a really, she has other books in this series, such as Pink is for Blobfish, What Makes a Monster, and Cute as an Axolotl. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But you get those for your library, and the kids will love you forever. They love that stuff. All right, I wanted to revisit something that I was thinking about this week. I think about books all the time. We were talking, and I showed you about beginning readers, that they generally are in this, they call this the trim size, how big or small something is. This is the standard size for a beginning reader, and that's the Mo Willems books, Elephant and Piggy. But it doesn't have to be that size. It can be enormous. This is a full-size picture book, and it's called What About Bear by Suzanne Bloom, and it won the Geisel Award for the best beginning reader one year. So, parents, how do parents know what's what? And so, I thought about that, and I wrote out all the words, all the text, for What About Bear. And I'm even closer on this because I want you to see it well. This is What About Bear. Come on, play with it. It's so simple, right? Let's play. Hey, can I play? I want to play a different game. What about Bear? Bear is too big. Notice there's a lot of repetition. We see the word bear often. We play is another word. Friend is another. We see them and we see them and we see them. And the more kids encounter them in print, the faster they'll end up being part of their sight word vocabulary. So there's a real rhyme and reason to this. Overall, this is simple in terms of grammar and syntactic elements. There are 90 words in this whole book. There are, of those, only 6 are polysyllabic, which means there are a couple, like sometimes and grumpy, that have 2 syllables. I don't think there are any 3 syllables in this. And but again, once they give a shot at the word and you help them with it, and then the next time they come upon it, Grumpy will come right to them. And Grumpy's a good fun word too. And there are only 20 sentences in this. So this is what you want kids to be working on when they're kindergarten, and mostly first is really, these are really slated for first, aren't they? And so then I took a look at Elephant and Piggy. And this one is, you know, the one we talked about. Should I share my ice cream? Which we decided we may or may not be a good idea. And in this one, there's a whole lot more text, isn't there, than there was on What About Bear. It's just a lot different. So 2 pages worth here, look. And what we have here are longer sentences, but like things like sharing a flavor Piggy does not like would be wrong. It doesn't get into heavier syntactic things like sharing a flavor Piggy does not like would be wrong, but I am going to do it anyway, because then we have clauses and all that stuff. That's not where we're at. But we can make the sentences a little bit longer. But there's still tons of repetition. And in this case, and in some, you know, the Bear book too, there's humor, but there's great humor in this story. In this story, as opposed to the Bear one, there were 90 words in that. This one is 247 words. And they don't even know it. They're just loving the book so much. 19 polysyllabic words, so triple that. We have words like awesome. Let's see, what else is there? Well, Piggy is a dual syllable. Happy, things like that. So there are some more, multisyllabic words. And as opposed to 20 sentences in the first one, 43 in this. Part of the reason that I point this out to you for these 2 books is that we can say, yes, your child's a beginning reader. This is what they should be reading, and there are gradients in these. Should I share my ice cream is actually more difficult than the Bear one. In both cases, we rely on pictures to help us figure out the words, don't we? So, but they're sort of all in the beginning reader category. So teachers who I visit will show me they have little tubbies that, tubs that they put their books in. And they would have What About Bear and Piggy in different bins. And they color code them. So you might tell your kids, oh, you did a great job with that book. Next book, go to the blue bin. This one might be yellow and so on. And so you color code it so the kids don't realize that there's anything to be judged here. It's just this is where you are as a reader. So there's a lot of gradients. And so my advice to all is that you listen to the child read. If you hear that's, the prosody, the music of our language, then that child, and they're getting it right, that child is comfortable in that text. If they're stopping constantly to ask for a word or to spell it out sound it out laboriously, it's probably a problem for them, and they should either back up for something a little bit less troublesome for them, or I should probably be doing this, shouldn't I? Hello! Or they should be, just practicing again and again and again. Reading is all about practice. It is. I had a friend, Tom Gill, many of you out there have studied with him or knew him. He was hysterical. But he would tell the kids about how the practice, how it is all about practicing, and he used this back when Lance Armstrong was hadn't been discovered to be a doper, but he'd say to the kids, if you want to become a bike rider, like a racer like Lance Armstrong, you have to be able to reach the pedals, And they would laugh. I used this on them all the time, too. And they'd laugh. And I said, no, it's true. If you couldn't ride the pedals, you couldn't practice, could you? Because that's the next thing, practice. And it's very much the same as reading. Reaching the pedals means that you're able to read the words. And once you can read the words, it's about reading and reading and reading. My granddaughter is going off to the beach, and she has now finished the series Wings of Fire, which is about dragons and all that stuff, which I don't care for, but she adores. And I said, what are you bringing to the beach to read? And she said, Wings of Fire. I said, I thought you finished them. She said, I did. I'm starting back at 1. That's, rereading is fun. These are characters you become used to. Kids really like us. Nothing wrong with rereading. Don't ever discourage that. Okay, I wanted to talk about 2 other things. And I think the most important one, well, I know it is, that I need to share with you is this. Jason Reynolds is our current children's literature ambassador, set up by the Library of Congress. And he's the most extraordinary writer lately. He's just amazing. Ibram X. Kendi, and I hope I'm saying that right, is a scholarly gentleman, and he wrote a book that won the National Book Award called Stamped from the Beginning. And, of course, I read mostly children's and young adult. This is young adult. And he asked Jason to use his skills to take the same book but make it accessible for teens. And boy, did he. It's now called Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism, and You. I was astonished what I didn't know about the racism that started. It's been there forever. It just has been there forever. Dark and light have always battled, and oh my God! But I loved it so much, and I loved his writing so much that I actually wrote in my books. Oh my God, I just did because he's got if you ever want to teach what voice means, I think reading bits of Jason Reynolds is a really good idea. He's talking about Thomas Jefferson, who he referred to as Thomas Contradiction Jefferson, because he was a contradiction, wasn't he? All men are created equal, but then he had like over 200 slaves. So, but at one point he wrote a book called, it says here, he titled his book of answers, Notes on the State of Virginia. In it he expressed his real thoughts on black people, and then Jason writes, he said that they could never assimilate because they were inferior by nature. They aren't reflective and operate only on instinct. Yikes. That the freedoms of slaves would result in the extermination of one of the races, i.e. a race war. I mean, I think punctuating that, like that is just so strong. And he also does things like this. He's talking about the different people's, belief in all this. Phyllis Wheatley, who was really quite popular in England, in fact was first published there because we wouldn't do it. Her achievements proved a point that black people weren't dumb, and this information became ammo for people who were anti-slavery. People like Benjamin Rush, a physician from Philadelphia, who wrote a pamphlet saying that black people weren't born savages, but instead they were made savages by slavery. And he writes, record scratch, like, pause. Okay, let's get something straight. And then, it's just, he does just an incredible job with this. And he allows kids to, stop. And he actually says, okay, let's all take a deep breath, inhale, hold it, exhale, and breathe out. And it's just incredible what he covers in this book. Now, I know that our history books are lacking. I've known that forever, of course. Well, not as a kid, but... And, you know, that's shameful. And I grew up in New York, and I may be wrong, I may have a faulty memory, but I heard about the Civil War, but it was really some kerfuffle that happened down south. I really didn't know anything about it. And so when I come from that perspective, I really have a lot of learning to do. So this isn't going to be the last book I read on racism and anti-racism. And it really shows me how much I need to do to make sure I do something about it, not just give lip service to it. So I recommend this wholeheartedly. In fact, I think it should be required reading, certainly in young adult and YA and children's lit at the college level. But I think this would make a great book for high school. It's funny, in the back he says, "This is not a history book. This is a book about the here and now, a book about race." So it's not. I mean, it does go back to our forefathers and all of that, who, by the way, were strikingly not into immigration, which, yeah, that's another book that I read this week by Kathleen Kroll. I'll get to that. So, very important book. Put it on your book list. I think it's a one that I know you won't regret reading. It's great. I mentioned this book last week when I was talking about novels in verse, and this is called Flooded, Requiem for Johnstown by Anne E. Berg. And this is the story of the Johnstown flood. And up here, where you see that boat and everything, it turns out that, I didn't know this, that lake had been dammed, they had dammed that river to make a lake, so that all the rich and important people could have a club up there, a country club, and sail on that and everything. But they didn't put enough time and energy and money into securing that dam. And of course, one day it let loose. It just really was a fabulous book. And again, a quick read, because fewer words on the page. So kids who are concerned about that should like this a lot. But the one that I read, and I don't have a copy of it, during the COVID time here, publishers are just, everything's slowed down. Random House wrote a nice note months back just saying what kind of, everything is on pause, and I can't blame them. So, anyway, I haven't been getting hard copies of a lot of these. Fortunately, I do get some, and this is an advanced review copy, which is why it's in paperback. But I read a book that I got online and read it on my Kindle, and I really love it. I mean, loved it. It is called All He Knew. All He Knew. And it's by Helen Frost. I'm dying to show you a picture, but there is no way I could technologically get to that. I don't, I'm clueless. It's actually a beautiful book of a little boy sitting at a window looking out. It's a story really over the years of what they did with deaf children in terms of educating them, in terms of understanding how to get into them to find out what they couldn't do, and many were just written off as uneducable. And this is the story of a little boy, Henry, who I think it was at age 5, he was assessed to see if he was educable or non-educable, and he didn't know what they were asking him to do because he couldn't hear them. And so he was then institutionalized in a place for the feeble-minded. He was so not feeble-minded. Most of the children there turned out not to be. But I got a very true sense of what it would be like living, especially as a small child with limited understanding of the world at large, what it would be like living when you couldn't understand or hear anything. You had to kind of put things together and hope you got it right. And it was really, really interesting. And his parents were poor, so even visiting the institution was difficult. It was great. And it also touched on something I didn't know about. I probably should have, but I didn't. And that is during World War II, the conscientious objectors in this country were, many were looked down on and harassed and so on. But the government did come up with some work for them to do. And one of them was to help staff institutions like this, because the other men, orderlies, and so on were off in Europe fighting, and so you get this whole, I didn't know that they did that, and in this particular case, Henry forges a friendship with Victor, who is one of the conscientious objectors. It was fascinating, I'll tell you, and it's written in verse. I predict this one's going to really be important. There's a Schneider Family Award given each year, which has to do with kids with disabilities. I think this is a clear shot for that. I wouldn't put money on it because I'm bad at actually predicting, but nevertheless, so I do pass that along to you. Let's see, what else did I want to do? I talked last week about Candy Fleming and her wonderful book about Lindbergh. I'll tell you, the nonfiction is so great for kids now as opposed to when we were kids, And one of the things is they look at all my messages. Can I get it? There we go. This is what I love about it is it's involved, nonfiction is in picture books like Gross is a Snot Otter, right? As well as longer books. And there are just so many great ones out there. This one I just got, it's called The Only Woman in the Photo, and Frances Perkins and Her New Deal for America. This is by Kathleen Krull, Krull. And she's a really good nonfiction writer. There are certain nonfiction writers that you absolutely can rely on, that they've done their homework. And Kathleen Krull is one of them. Candy Fleming, Susan Campbell Bartoletti, and Jen Bryant. There's just so many great ones. So once you've read a couple, this person really is good. But then the ones that I talk about are going to be the ones that I think the most highly of. Anyway, I didn't know that Franklin Delano Roosevelt appointed this woman Secretary of Labor. It was the first woman to be in a cabinet position. I like the end papers on that. So this is about a woman. It's a little known fact, I expect, because I didn't know it. And it's just wonderful. I love her work. But one of the things that just tickled me, and I only found this out because I was on Facebook, and my friend Margie posted it, but this book is dedicated to my friend, and by Kathleen Krull. She said, for Margie Podzelinski, librarian goddess. And Margie is a fabulous librarian in Texas, and we have crossed paths and worked on committees together, and I just want to congratulate her for that, because not only did she get it dedicated to her, but by one of the big ones. Yeah, it's so exciting. I love that. I also wanted to show you, because I'll be talking about these all the time, and when John Sheska and Lane Smith did the true story for the Three Little Pigs, there were very few variants, and the one that sticks out to me is and I'm going to draw a blank, and I won't be able. The guy who did Miss Nelson is missing. James Marshall, of course. And he had done Red Riding Hood and things like that, and they were a twist to them. They were funny. But it was the true story of the Three Little Pigs that just blasted it wide open. And even now, all these years later, we're getting them. And there are fresh ones, you know. This one is Chicken Little, The Real and Totally True Tale by Sam Wedelich. I went online because I like to, when I talk about these things, know something about it. And I wanted to find out what the original one was like. And it has Henny Penny, Chicken Little, Turkey Lurkey, you know, all of these characters, which I didn't remember, so I'm glad I checked. But it's cute, and I love the art. Chicken Little. Who are you calling little? I am not little. I am petite. Little implies young and small, and I am not a baby. Babies are easily scared, and I'm not afraid of anything. Bonk. What was that? And he dashes away, but he's not afraid of anything. Hide! Is the coast clear? Nothing looks dangerous? Chicken Little looked low. Chicken Little looked high. Nada. There must be a reasonable explanation. It's not like the sky is falling. That's ridiculous. Or is it? Hey, sky, are you falling? Me? No. I'm a blanket of gas held by the pull of gravity. I do not fall. That sounds like an excuse. Stuff falls from the sky all the time. Preposterous. Name one thing. Well, meteors, stars, rain, snow, hail. Usually you turn white or gray for that stuff, but who knows what you're capable of? Maybe you could start falling at any time. No, honestly, I'm fine. Chicken Little, what are you doing? I'm just checking in with the sky to make sure it's not falling. What? The sky is falling? Hey, wait, I didn't say... Hey, everybody, the sky is falling. You can see the surprised look on the sky's face. Back in the barnyard. The sky is falling. Run, run, run. The sky is falling. Run. This is clucky chaos. Utter hendemonium. And I started it, but how do I stop it? The sky is falling. Chicken Little brought in the fact-checking snipes, who were widely respected, but the horde of hens wouldn't stop to listen. So the sky is falling, and it says false, but they don't listen. Chicken Little tried to corral them into the coop so she could explain, but the chickens refused to be caged. We're free range! Run for the hills! Cut the fence! Things really got out of hand when Chicken Little heard the hens chanting, cut the fence! Cut the fence! Okay, first, never run with scissors, but more importantly, you can't cut the fence. There are actual predators out there. But the sky is falling. Oh, that's poppycock. Didn't anyone tell you not to believe everything you hear? I just got a bonk on the head and was investigating the source. Ooh, ouch, Cass, did it hurt? Oh, you poor dear, we'll need a bandage. Got it, cluck, cluck. I've got ice. Check the pupils for dilation. And she was. See? Told you I wasn't afraid of anything. And I love the art. I love that simple drawing, and I just love it. All right. So, let me see. Can I get myself back up here completely? No, I'll just stick with that. I don't know how to do these things. But I do try to learn. I am going to be talking about different things every week. I hope some of them are helpful to you and you just get some new ideas. Trying to think of what else I read this week. Gosh, I need to be better about putting them on the list. Okay, I will. But there's a lot of great things out there, and if I can help point them out to you, it's great. I got a new mask my friend Jeanette made for me, and I showed it to my granddaughters, and the elder of the two said, elephants? And the little one said, cat in my hat. And I thought, all right. So I think that one's I can wear with great pride. Please take care of yourselves. If you want anything that I printed out about the beginning readers and so on, just email me and I can send it to you. But otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to read next. I can't wait to... I hate going without a book. And when I was in the library, as soon as the kids sat down, I'd say, well, what are we reading that's good? And their hands would go up and they'd tell me and I'd listen. And then they'd say, well, what are you reading? And I always had a book going. But I said, because it was true, I said, nothing, and I don't feel comfortable. The gasp, it was great. And then they said, then I said, well, here's what happened. I finished my book at 11 o'clock last night, and I don't get up early enough in the morning before school to start a book. But I'm very uncomfortable all day, and I will get a book going this afternoon. And they checked up on me, too, the little rats. It was so funny. Anyway, so have a wonderful week, but stay safe. I hope we figure out this whole thing with going back to school. I'm very uncomfortable about that. So, but we just need to ride this out. So please, let's all be together on this and get through it. Love you all out there. Take good care. See you next week. Bye.